UFC bantamweight contender Morab Dvalishvili found himself in the middle of an intense and unexpected confrontation that was captured live on his Instagram stream. What started as a casual live stream quickly turned into one of the most heated moments we've seen from the usually composed Georgian fighter. The incident happened last night, and as expected, the footage is now circulating all over social media. Here's what went down. Morab was out and about, likely engaging with fans when he found himself in a bizarre situation. According to Morab and the video evidence, a man deliberately gave him false directions. It wasn't an accident but seemed to be a purposeful act meant to confuse or mock him. While giving someone the wrong directions might seem minor, it wasn't just about confusion. The man allegedly admitted to doing it as a joke, claiming he was trolling Morab and his group. But let's be honest, when you're messing with a UFC fighter on a live stream, things can escalate quickly, and that's exactly what happened. Once Morab realized what was going on, he confronted the man directly. He looked him in the eye and asked, "What is your Instagram? I mean, I want to know." You could hear the tension rise in his voice. The man looked caught off guard, perhaps, thinking the whole thing would blow over. But then another bystander spoke up and confirmed the man's intentions. You could hear someone say, "Yeah, he said he was trying to troll y'all." That's when Morab snapped, and the energy shifted completely. Morab raised his voice, clearly frustrated, and shouted, "That's what I'm trying to say, that's what I'm saying, bro." From there, things spiraled. One of the people around tried to calm the situation down, saying, "Yo, relax." But Morab wasn't backing down. He replied sharply, "I literally live here. Relax." His tone made it clear he felt disrespected in his own city and wasn't about to let it slide. In the background, people could be heard trying to defuse the situation. Reacting in disbelief, someone asked, "You know that guy?" Another voice jumped in with, "What the hell?" And then the live stream cut out just like that. The moment ended, but the drama had already exploded online. Fans have been split. Some say Morab was completely justified. You don't play games with someone's time, especially not on a public live stream. Others say he overreacted and should have kept his cool. Whatever your stance, one thing is clear. This was raw, real and unfiltered, and it showed us a different side of Morab Dvalishvili. The calm, respectful fighter, he's still in there. But when you push the wrong buttons, he's not afraid to snap back. Moving on to the second big story, what's next for Paddy Pimblett after his huge UFC win? If you still had any doubts about Paddy Pimblett heading into UFC 314, you probably don't anymore. The baddie is officially a legitimate lightweight contender. Other than a few moments during grappling exchanges, Michael Chandler had absolutely no answer for Pimblett. Paddy beat battered and bloodied the former Bellator champion before finishing him in round 3. Not only did Paddy look stronger, he dominated Chandler on the feet in multiple exchanges, proving that his striking has come a long way compared to where it was just a couple years ago. UFC President Dana White reacted to the fight at the post-fight presser, saying, "Paddy Pimblett showed tonight that he is the real deal, beating Michael Chandler, and beating him the way he did. I don't know how you can doubt the kid anymore." With Chandler ranked number 7 heading into the fight, and Pimblett previously sitting at number 12, it's safe to say Paddy just leveled up. Now everyone is asking the same question: what's next? Following the fight, Paddy called out the division's elite, and even threw shade at Sausage Arm and Arman Tsarukyan. Could we now see a top 5 opponent for the baddie? Could a fight with Dustin Poirier happen? Or maybe even Charles Oliveira or Justin Gaethje? Whatever the UFC decides, one thing is clear. Paddy Pimblett is now a major player in the lightweight division. Who do you want to see him fight next? Speaking of UFC 314, we now shift to another major headline. The MMA community calls out Michael Chandler for cheating. After the fight, Paddy Pimblett and fans across the MMA world began calling out Chandler for what they labeled as dirty tactics. Paddy himself had warned the referee before the fight, saying that Chandler has a history of bending the rules. "He's the nicest man outside the cage," Paddy said. But when he's in there, he's a very, very dirty man." Paddy added that he would mention it to the ref beforehand, saying, "I don't want to get rabbit punched in the back of the head constantly." And apparently that's exactly what happened. During his post-fight comments, Paddy said, "He hit me with about 4 punches to the back of the head in the first round, not even got warned." Then there was the controversial kick to the groin. Paddy believes Chandler did it on purpose to buy time. "You never know," he said. "He might have kicked me on purpose because he was gassed, not me. I felt fresh, my balls were still hurting when I said, 'Let's go.' But I knew he was tired, so I didn't give him that breather." The MMA community quickly jumped into the conversation, saying things like, "Fish hooks, low blows, and back-of-the-head strikes clearly aren't working. Look for Chandler to use a steel chair in his next fight." Another fan posted, "3 things in life are certain death taxes and Michael Chandler cheating in a fight." The criticisms were harsh but loud, and they aren't going away anytime soon. Now on to Dustin Poirier's live reaction to one of the night's biggest surprises, Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. Dustin Poirier was in attendance at UFC 314 not as a fighter this time, but as an analyst sitting cage-side breaking down the action for fans around the world. And when Paddy Pimblett pulled off the unthinkable by stopping Michael Chandler in round 3, it was Poirier's reaction that truly captured how shocking the moment was. Cameras quickly panned to the diamond, and his face said it all. Eyes wide, mouth slightly open, he looked absolutely stunned. Let's not forget, Poirier and Chandler have a long heated history. These two went to war back at UFC 2081 in a brutal back-and-forth brawl that ended with Dustin submitting Chandler in the 3rd round. Because of that shared history, many fans were curious to see how Chandler would perform against someone like Paddy. Most expected a competitive fight, maybe even a back-and-forth battle, but a one-sided beatdown? Nobody saw that coming. The moment Pimblett got the finish, you could almost feel a shift in the arena, and Poirier didn't even have to say a word. His expression spoke volumes: shock, disbelief, maybe even a little concern. Was Chandler slipping, or is Paddy truly evolving into a top-tier lightweight? That's the question on everyone's mind now. While a potential Dustin Poirier versus Paddy Pimblett matchup might sound exciting to fans, it's not exactly likely, at least not right now. Dustin has been open about wanting only one more fight before retirement. He's made it clear that he's looking for a Legends fight, something meaningful, something that caps off his incredible career with a bang. A fight with Paddy, who's still viewed by some as a rising star rather than an established legend, may not fit that narrative. Still, Paddy's performance at UFC 314 was impossible to ignore. Whether or not he ends up on Poirier's radar, one thing's for sure: he just got a lot more attention from the top names in the lightweight division. Eyes are now wide open. Fans, analysts, and fighters alike are starting to see Paddy in a different light. So while the idea of Dustin versus Paddy might be just a dream matchup for now, in the chaotic world of MMA, you never know what's next. Now we return to Merab Dvalishvili, who recently spoke out about his highly anticipated rematch with Sean O'Malley, a fight that's generating serious buzz as we gear up for UFC 316 this June. This time, things are different. Merab isn't the hungry underdog anymore. He walks into the octagon as the undisputed bantamweight champion, ready to defend his crown against one of the most recognizable names in the UFC, Sugar Sean O'Malley. Fans are divided on whether O'Malley deserves this immediate rematch. Some say it's fully justified given how close and competitive their first fight was, while others believe it's more about dollar signs than rankings, pointing out O'Malley's massive fan base, his marketing appeal, and his power to draw in pay-per-view numbers, and honestly both sides make solid points. But if you ask Merab, none of that matters. He's locked in and confident. When asked what's different this time around, Merab didn't sugarcoat anything. He said now he's the challenger and I'm the champion. He has nothing to lose, that's his big chance. If he wins, great, but if I beat him again, he'll have to go back down and fight maybe in the street. No, I'm joking, but seriously, he'll need at least 2 more wins to get another title shot. Classic Morab, playful, confident, and brutally real. And he's not wrong. If O'Malley comes up short a second time, it won't just be a loss. It'll be a major blow to his brand and momentum. Back-to-back defeats in title fights are hard to bounce back from, even for someone as popular as Sugar Sean. That's why some critics say O'Malley should have taken a different fight first. Maybe a tune-up bout, something to rebuild confidence, and add another win to his resume before jumping right back into the deep end with a hungry champ like Morab. But here's the twist. If O'Malley wins, we're looking at one of the biggest potential trilogy fights in recent UFC history. A rubber match with Morab would be money, plain and simple. It could headline any card anywhere in the world, and fans would eat it up. Meanwhile, Morab's already looking beyond UFC 316. In a recent interview with the Schmo, Morab revealed he plans to fight 3 more times in 2025. That's right, this isn't just a title defense. It's the beginning of what he hopes will be a 4-fight championship campaign, possibly one of the most active reigns we've seen in modern UFC. The man's relentless, his pace is unmatched, and with each dominant performance, Morab continues to build his legacy as one of the toughest champions in the sport. So here's the million-dollar question. If Morab beats O'Malley again, who should he fight next? Drop your picks in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more UFC news every single week. Let's talk Dana White, who had plenty to say about the officiating at UFC 314, and let's just say the UFC president was not impressed. Dana didn't hold back during the post-fight press conference. In fact, you could see it on his face. He looked fed up with what he called some of the worst refereeing and judging in recent memory, and he's not alone. Fans, fighters, and analysts across the board were scratching their heads at a few of the decisions that went down. One of the biggest flashpoints was the bout between Dan Ige and Sean Woodson. The fight ended with a controversial stoppage that many viewers believed came way too early. Ige was still moving, still aware, and visibly trying to defend himself when the referee stepped in. The crowd erupted in boos, and Dana backed them up, saying he agreed completely with the outrage. According to Dana, Ige deserved more time, and the ref pulled the trigger far too soon. But that wasn't the only questionable call of the night. Dana also brought up the fight between Derek Minor and Julian Erosa, which he described as another example of strange officiating. While he didn't go into detail, his tone said enough. At one point, he just shook his head and said, "I thought the judging was atrocious tonight, I'll just leave it at that." And let's be honest, we've heard Dana criticize refs and judges in the past, but this time felt different. The mistakes weren't isolated, they were happening all night long, affecting multiple fights on a major pay-per-view card. So now the question becomes, when is enough enough? Fighters train for months, sometimes years. For their shot, fans pay good money to see a fair fight. So when a referee or judge ruins a contest with a bad stoppage or a questionable scorecard, people want answers. People want accountability. Dana didn't say what changes, if any, are coming. But based on his frustration, don't be surprised if we see some behind-the-scenes shakeups in the coming months. Whether that means retraining officials, pressuring athletic commissions, or bringing in new talent, something needs to change. Until then, fighters are left hoping the next ref or judge on their card doesn't blow their moment. Let us know what you think. Were the refs at UFC 314 out of line, or was Dana just being Dana? Finally, let's end on a high note with some respect, because after all the chaos, controversy, and wild moments at UFC 314, one of the most surprising headlines came from a man who didn't even fight on the card, Bobby Green. That's right, Bobby Green. The UFC veteran, known for his unfiltered honesty and fast hands, took a moment to give some serious props to none other than Paddy Pimblett. Now keep in mind, Green has shared the cage with Paddy before. The two fought back in 2023, and it didn't go Green's way. Paddy submitted him in the first round with a slick, rear-naked choke. It was a tough loss for Bobby, and for a guy with his experience, that's not something he forgets easily. But here's the thing: real fighters respect real skill. And after Paddy's dominant performance at UFC 314, Bobby Green posted an Instagram story that caught a lot of attention. In it, he said, "Paddy, I haven't seen the full fight yet. Just been checking the highlights, but I'm going to be the first to say it. If they won't say it, you're the real deal, brother. You're the real deal." Now that's respect coming from a battle-tested veteran like Bobby Green. That compliment holds weight. He didn't have to say anything. In fact, most fighters would have stayed silent, especially after losing to the guy. But instead, Bobby showed class and sportsmanship. He acknowledged the skill, the performance, and the evolution of a young fighter, who many had previously written off as all hype. And let's be honest, Paddy Pimblett has been polarizing. Some love him, some can't stand him. But with every fight, especially his latest showing against Michael Chandler, he's proving he's more than just a loud personality with flashy entrances. He's gaining the respect of his peers, one performance at a time. So while UFC 314 had its fair share of controversy, from bad officiating to unexpected call-outs, this moment stood out as a reminder of what makes MMA special. Beyond the rivalries and drama, it's about the respect between warriors who step into the cage and leave it all on the line. And with that, UFC 314 comes to a close. Fights, controversies, respect, and everything in between. It truly was one for the books. Where will the momentum take us next? Only time and the UFC will know.